Hi, Gretchen, Juliana. Nice to meet you.
Hi,
Hi, nice to
nice
meet
to meet
you.
you.
Thanks for joining me. Congrats on Miller's and Marriage. I thought it was great.
Thank you.
I'm huge fans of both of yours. You've done a variety of wonderful projects. And Gretchen, your career thus far, did you ever think you'd be in a project where you're portraying a sort of love triangle with Patrick Wilson and Benjamin Bratt?
Why
Poor
not?
thing. Poor
Why not?
thing.
Well, that's great. I mean, were you familiar? I guess for both of you, whoever wants to start, I mean, were you familiar with Ed Burns' work prior to joining this project, or did you know him?
I didn't know him personally, but I was very familiar. I mean, I remember the Sundance, the year that his Brothers McMullen was all the rage at Sundance and that whole story. And it was kind of at the same time, I felt like I was coming up at that time too. And so I was very aware of him and his films. And then every year, just the way he's been so prolific. So I was so excited when my agent sent me the script and sat down immediately and read it and was like, ah, ah, because it's like if my life were just like screwed up a little bit more than it is, I could really relate. It just felt very relatable and very truthful.
Yeah, absolutely. And Juliana, it's been almost 10 years since The Good Wife concluded. I was curious if you ever think about that project when approaching new projects, sort of like Miller's and Marriage, this sort of relationship-centric project. I mean, do you think about past characters like that? Or is it just sort of like, this is a cool new, marital centric movie that I'm ready to tackle?
Well, I didn't really think about The Good Wife when I got the script for Miller's in Marriage, but I do, I think the writing was so good on The Good Wife, and it was such a huge part of my life for 7 years
Yeah.
that the bar has been set pretty high.
Yeah.
So the material, it's hard for me um, when the scripts aren't up to par for me to say yes to a project. It's very easy for me to say yes to a project when I love the script so much, and when I think, I really felt when I read it that it really spoke to a mass audience. Um, I didn't when I did The Good Wife, I didn't think many people would be able to relate to Alicia Florrick because that was a specific situation, that she was in a very public way. But the truth of the matter is, the more the years go on, the more people come up to me saying how much that show helped them in the middle of a divorce. It's amazing how these things live on. It's quite remarkable to watch.
Yeah.
But it definitely plays a part in how I choose a role for sure, because once you've done that, you want to keep keep the work good.
Of course.
And that's how I loved this script right away. And I knew Ed a little bit. I had never worked with him. I was very aware of all his work and his films. I've loved all of them. Um, but I also know a lot of people who know him, and they all had the same reaction, which was he's just the best guy ever.
Yeah.
And the older I get and the more I work in this industry, to me, the most important thing is enjoying your experience of the work, not necessarily the end product, because what you walk away with is the experience of the film. And so the second I, was given the script and then I met him, I was so happy to do it.
That's great. Yeah, I'm a huge, that's nice to hear. I have his book on my bookshelf. I've read it and, I've always wanted to meet him, so it'll happen.
It'll happen.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
come to the screening tonight.
I'd love to, yeah. If I didn't have a baby at home.
Oh,
But Gretchen, also, I guess it's been a little over 10 years since, one of my favorites, Boardwalk Empire, concluded. And that was, another one of my favorite series on HBO. And I was curious if you stay in touch with that cast or you ever think about like, oh, that would
a
be a fun
little.
carrot to revisit or anything like that.
Oh, it was just such a great time of, again, like you said, great. Once you have that taste of great writing, and it does just make you want to replicate it. And I think at that time I knew how good it was, and I knew that it was going to be hard to find that level again. But you take these things with you, and you take that experience of knowing and tasting what that is, and how important that is, and how hard it is to do good work when those things aren't in play, when you don't have good writing. So, again, when you read a script like something that Ed has written, and the characters are kind of lovingly drawn, and it draws you to it, and it's an opportunity to explore this time in our lives that we are all kind of in, and shed a little light on it.
Absolutely. Yeah, well said. And Julianne, I wanted to mention, I know last year was very exciting. It was the 30th anniversary of ER, and I read how you and George Clooney still call each other by, your characters' names from that wonderful show. I was curious if you've, connected with him recently about, life or recent projects or
Oh
anything.
yeah, because he's in New York. I just finished doing a play on Broadway, and he's just started rehearsals. So he came to see the show
That's
a couple weeks ago, and we probably email each other, I would say almost once a day, just because he hasn't done stage in a long time, and I had just been in it. So, I'm giving him advice and making sure he's taking care of himself. And I can't. I just think he's being so brave. He doesn't have to do a play. It's really, you have to be brave to get up there, and he's definitely not in a place in his life where he has to do a play. Um, so I'm very proud. I know it sounds a bit weird to say it, but I've known him for so long. He's like my brother. So I'm very proud of him. He took the hard road. He didn't just cash in his chips. And you take a real chance when you get out on a stage live. And someone of his status, I always think of myself as a working actor, and he's like the movie star, even though we both came out of ER. But um, I think it's a much scarier place for him to get on stage than it is for me. So I'm really proud of him, and yeah, I talk to him all the time.
That's great. It's nice to hear. I'm a huge fan of his as well. And yeah, I've been on stage before. It's no easy feat. So,
It's yeah, you gotta be brave.
well, great. Well, again, congratulations on Millers and Marriage. Can't wait for everyone else to see it. And it's very
Thank
nice to
you.
meet both of you.